Hey everyone, this is Bob Kovacs here at Wirefly with another Wirefly cell phone schmackdown. Today, between these two kissing cousins, actually, they're more like siblings. It's more like brother and sister, or maybe this one's brother and that one's sister. Or maybe they're both brothers, or maybe they're both, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, they're both manufactured by HTC. This is the T-Mobile myTouch 4G slide. That's on the left, and on the right is the HTC Sensation, also running on the T-Mobile network. These are both 4G phones on T-Mobile's HSPA Plus network. In fact, I said that these were siblings, brother and sister, or two brothers or two sisters, because under the skin, the technology inside these two phones is essentially the same. They both have dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processors. They both have 768 megabytes of processor RAM. They both have 8 megapixel cameras on the back. They both have front-facing cameras that allows you to do video chat. Here it is on the myTouch 4G slide, and here it is on the Sensation. So they are both very, very similar. They both have 4 gigs of onboard storage, 3 gigs of which, in both cases, is used by the HTC Sense interface, so that only 1 gigabyte of the onboard storage is actually remaining available for you to store stuff. They both come with 8 gigabyte micro SD cards pre-installed. They're both about the same speed. In fact, I am not going to run my usual benchmark tests today because there's no reason to run them, because under the skin, these two phones are the same. So how do they differ after all? I mean, it's a schmackdown. They got to differ somehow. Well, you can take a look at them, shove them together here. I've got the two screens lined up at the top. And of course, the Sensation with its 4.3-inch display is much bigger than the 3.7-inch display on the myTouch 4G slide. So not only is this 4.3 inches, but the resolution is 540 by 960 pixels. 540 by 960 pixels. Over here, it's 480 by 800. So not only does the Sensation have a much bigger display, it also has considerably higher resolution. So the Sensation takes that round of the Wirefly schmackdown. But then again, the myTouch 4G slide has a slide-out keyboard. The Sensation does not. You do all of your keyboarding on the front page, on the display here of this phone. So whatever you go to, you're going to have your keyboard right like that. Now the myTouch 4G can also display an on-screen keyboard. Let's go ahead and touch something here. And you can tell by these two displays how they compare. Obviously, the keys on the display of the Sensation, it's got a bigger screen, it's got more space for the keys. They're bigger on screen than they are here on the myTouch 4G. But then again, with the myTouch 4G slide, you can always slide out the keyboard and use the keys. It's a pretty good keyboard. They're kind of firm. The keys are flat. There is a little dot on the F key, a little hard to see there. I guess you can see it. There's a dot to help you locate the F key by touch. Otherwise, there's no dedicated row of numbers. It would be nice to have a dedicated row of numbers. Otherwise, it's a good keyboard. Now, one of the other significant ways that these two phones differ is their overall thickness. So the Sensation, which is on the right, is a much slimmer phone than the myTouch 4G slide. And when you heft the two, there's no question that the Sensation is the lighter of the two. It's actually quite sleek. Now, some people don't like the size, the length and width of the phone in the hand, but it is very slim and sleek, and I think it feels pretty good. It's kind of slippery. The back of it is smooth. There's not a lot of texture to it. I think it looks kind of nice, but there's not a lot of texture to it, and you might be sliding this accidentally out of your hand when you don't intend to. On the other hand, the myTouch 4G slide has got a bit of a rubberized background here, slightly rubberized. It doesn't feel nearly as slippery. Now, if you look on the front page here of the myTouch 4G slide. It's got Netflix loaded. Netflix is not available, as I understand it, today. I'm sure it will be in the near future, but today, as I say this, Netflix is not yet available for the Sensation. I'm not sure why that would be, because these two phones are nearly identical under the covers. So here we have a keyboard, here we have a bigger screen. Those are the two things that differentiate these phones. This one is thicker, it's heavier, and this one is sleeker and lighter weight. A notable point of difference between these two cell phones is that the myTouch 4G slide has a lot of interesting camera features. So let me go ahead and take a look at that. Here we go. And now it's on the camera. Got some shade there. Here, let's take my genuine fake credit card and put that there. Now, when you're in the camera mode on the myTouch 4G slide, touch the upper left button and it brings up all sort of interesting scene presets. Here is a panorama preset that allows you to do what T-Mobile calls a sweep shot, so you can get a very wide panorama shot. This is an HDR, which stands for a high dynamic range photograph, so it makes sure that you get detail both in the black areas of the screen and in the white areas of the screen. Normally with a lot of cameras you get one or the other of those where it's so dark or so white that you can't see any details. This will preserve the details with HDR mode. There's a burst shot mode that takes several shots in 1 second. Hopefully that will mean that one of the shots will be good. Nighttime, of course. Action shots with a very fast shutter speed, macro that allows you to take intense close-ups, and then a portrait which will blur everything around the middle of the screen. So you can put a face in the middle of the screen and then blur around it. So there's a lot of interesting scene presets here that allow you to do some interesting stuff. One other thing while I'm looking at this is that the myTouch 4G slide has actual physical buttons here for the Android buttons, and if you look at the Sensation, the buttons are all capacitive buttons that are flat against the surface of the display. So the camera features of the myTouch 4G slide win that part of the cell phone Schmackdown for the myTouch 4G slide. Of course, the Sensation has a camera, but the camera doesn't have those sorts of presets, and it also is not supposed to be as good a camera as the one that comes in the myTouch 4G slide. But as you can see, it focused on that pretty quickly and pretty clearly. So in my experience, if you just want a general snapshot of something, the snapshots you get with the Sensation are just about as good as the snapshots you get with the myTouch 4G slide. Nevertheless, the Wirefly Schmackdown round on camera goes to the myTouch 4G slide. Okay, a lot of people ask me, Bob, which is your preference? Now, I understand that my preference should not necessarily be your preference, but I prefer the bigger screen and the higher resolution of the HTC Sensation. I just like that. I'm at the age in life where I like a bigger screen rather than a smaller screen. A lot of you are going to prefer having an actual physical keyboard because that works better for you for texting or for doing emails, whatever. You may also be perfectly fine with the smaller screen on the myTouch 4G slide. I can understand that, but as far as my preference goes, these two phones, which are so similar in performance, my preference goes with the HTC Sensation, and because it's my preference after all, I'm declaring it the winner of this Wirefly cell phone Schmackdown. And that wraps up another cell phone Schmackdown here at Wirefly. I'm Bob Kovacs. Thanks for watching.